Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into something absolutely foundational, yet maybe sometimes overlooked in the bustling world of cybersecurity, physical security requirements. We're talking straight from Chapter 10 of the CISSP, that's the Certified Information Systems Security Professional Study Guide. You can pour money into the strongest firewalls, the most robust encryption.
Right.
But if someone could literally just walk into your server room, maybe, or if a critical power line gets cut, well, all that digital security suddenly feels a lot less effective, doesn't it?
It really does.
We're getting into the real-world protections, the things that keep our data, our systems, and yeah, even our people safe.
That's exactly right. And this deep dive, it's crucial because it bridges that gap, between the digital world and the tangible one. We'll explore how fundamental security principles get applied to the physical environment. Think about it. Right from the moment you select a site for a facility, through its design, down to the real nitty-gritty of securing wiring closets and data centers, managing those environmental controls like power and temperature, and even how we physically manage people and their access. It's really all about building a robust, multi-layered defense that addresses threats that, frankly, exist beyond the digital realm.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the top then.
Yeah.
Why is physical security so fundamental? I mean, in our increasingly digital age, it almost feels a bit old school, doesn't it?
Yeah, I get that.
Like, aren't we past needing actual fences and locks?
It's a great question, and it hits on a common misconception. The reality is, without really stringent control over the physical environment, any collection of, administrative, technical, or logical controls you put in place is simply, well, it's insufficient. Imagine a bank vault. You can have the absolute most advanced digital security for your accounts, multi-factor authentication, complex encryption, super secure online platform.
Right, all the tech.
Exactly. But if the vault itself isn't physically secure, if someone can just walk in or maybe dig underneath it, then all that digital protection, it becomes pretty much moot.
Yeah, useless.
A malicious person with physical access can cause destruction, disclosure, or alteration of assets without ever touching a keyboard. Physical security is literally the front door to your entire IT infrastructure. It's that first line of defense stopping threats before they can even think about exploiting digital vulnerabilities.
Okay.
The real insight here, I think, is that you can have the best digital locks, but if the door frame itself is weak or missing, your security is basically just an illusion.
So it really is the bedrock. That makes sense. But where do you even begin when you're designing security for a physical space? Is it just about putting up a really tall fence?
Oh, far from it. It all starts with a secure facility plan. This isn't some afterthought. It's a comprehensive blueprint, and it's developed through rigorous risk assessment. This plan considers everything, from the initial site selection right through to daily operational procedures. Now, a core element of this planning is something called critical path analysis.
Critical path analysis.
Yes. It's a systematic effort to identify the relationships between all your mission-critical applications, processes, and crucially, their supporting elements, both the physical ones and the technological ones.
So mapping out every single dependency. Can you give us maybe a more concrete picture of what that means?
Sure. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a delivery truck driver. I've got a critical package that must arrive by a certain time.
Okay, high stakes.
Right. Critical path analysis is like meticulously mapping out every single road, every bridge, every intersection that truck absolutely must take to get to its destination. If any of those are blocked or compromised, a road's closed, a bridge is out. The delivery fails. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Now, in a facility, this means identifying all the essential dependencies for, say, an online store. We're talking the specific power lines feeding its servers, the cooling systems, the exact network cables, the internet connection,
Wow. Okay.
and even the staff required to operate it. The true insight here isn't just what the path is, but recognizing that organizations often overlook these seemingly minor dependencies, a single network cable, maybe, or one specific cooling unit, that, if compromised, can bring down an entire multi-million-dollar operation, precisely because they didn't map their critical paths exhaustively. You need to understand these interdependencies to ensure continuous operations and, importantly, identify where a single point of failure might exist.
That makes the stakes incredibly clear. And I can see how that ties into technology convergence, which I know is another
Yeah.
big concept here. What exactly is that, and how does it affect physical security?
Right. Technology convergence. It basically refers to the tendency for various technologies, solutions, systems to evolve and, well, merge into a single platform or path.
Yep.
Now, while this can bring tremendous efficiency, cost savings, imagine having voice, video, and data traffic all sharing one network connection path.
Sounds efficient.
It is. But it also introduces a significant risk. It can create a single point of failure. It's like a multi-tool or a Swiss Army knife. It's incredibly efficient because one device does many things. Knife, screwdriver, can opener, you name it.
Right.
But if you lose that one tool, you've lost all those functions. Similarly, converged systems are efficient, but they become a single, very attractive target for attackers because compromising that one path can potentially sever multiple critical communications.
Okay, that's a problem.
It is. Security staff really need to be involved in the design of physical facilities right from the very beginning. They need to anticipate and mitigate these kinds of risks, making sure that efficiency doesn't inadvertently create these catastrophic vulnerabilities.
So efficiency can sometimes be a double-edged sword in security. And this leads us nicely to the idea of a layered defense model, also known as defense in depth. Can you elaborate on how that applies physically?
Absolutely. The secure facility plan should always be based on a layered defense model. The idea is to establish essentially an obstacle course or maybe a gauntlet for any potential intruder.
Okay.
Attackers should face multiple security mechanisms in series, one after another, each one increasing the difficulty of breaching the defenses.
Like peeling an onion?
Exactly. Or think of a medieval castle. You don't just have one wall, you have a moat, then an outer wall, a drawbridge, an inner wall, and finally the keep itself,
Right.
with guards stationed at each layer. If an intruder manages to breach one layer, another is immediately there to slow them down, alert defenders, or maybe stop them entirely.
Okay.
This multi-layered approach ensures that even if one control fails or is bypassed, others are still in place to protect your assets. This is precisely why involving security staff in the initial design of a facility is so critical. They can identify vulnerabilities and implement these layers from the ground up rather than trying to, retrofit them later, which is often far more expensive and, frankly, less effective.
When choosing a location for a new facility, what factors, beyond the obvious stuff like rent or square footage, really come into play for security?
Site selection is absolutely paramount. Beyond cost, location, and size, you have to consider proximity to other buildings. Are there neighboring businesses that generate a lot of noise, maybe, which could interfere with sensitive equipment? Or vibrations that might impact delicate servers? Perhaps they handle hazardous materials, posing risks of leaks, spills, or even explosions that could affect your operation.
Wow, okay.
You also need to assess vulnerability to extreme weather conditions. Can the building withstand floods, severe storms, or even earthquakes if you're in a seismic zone?
Right.
And critically evaluate all the vulnerable entry points. That includes not just doors, but windows, especially ground level ones, and even elements like trees, shrubs, or other human-made structures that could inadvertently obscure break-in attempts or provide cover for intruders. It's really about assessing the entire environment your facility will inhabit, not just the plot of land itself.
So it's not just about what's inside, but what's around the facility, too. That makes sense. I've also heard of something called industrial camouflage. That sounds intriguing. What is it?
Industrial camouflage is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's an attempt to mask or hide a facility's actual function or purpose. The goal is to make the building not stand out, to avoid attracting unwanted attention from potential adversaries. For example, a highly secure data center might be designed to look like a generic food packing facility or an unassuming warehouse.
Okay, blend in.
Exactly. By blending in with the surrounding environment and presenting a believable, mundane facade, you reduce the likelihood of it becoming a target. This isn't just about secrecy, it's a proactive defense against reconnaissance.
Right.
In an age where satellite imagery and open source intelligence make identifying targets easier than ever, blending in becomes a really powerful first layer of deterrence. It actively reduces the incentive for adversaries to even begin their planning. It's subtle, but it can be profoundly effective, a way to deter and deflect.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about building a wall, but how you design the whole environment to actively deter crime. This is where the principles of physical design truly start to influence human behavior in surprising ways.
Precisely. And the top priority in any facility design must always be the protection of life and safety.
Absolutely.
All designs have to comply with health and safety laws, local building codes, regulations. In the United States, that includes organizations like the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, OSHA, and the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA.
Right.
These regulations aren't just legal hurdles, they are critical frameworks for ensuring the well-being of occupants and minimizing environmental impact. Now, beyond compliance, a really powerful concept in this realm is crime prevention through environmental design, or CPT, CPTED. It's usually pronounced CPTED.
CPTED.
CPTED is a fascinating concept. It's about making spaces inherently safer by design, not just relying on locks and cameras after the fact.
Proactive.
Exactly. Instead of reacting to crime, it proactively shapes the environment to deter it by influencing human behavior and reducing crime opportunities. It's about shaping the space to make criminal activity more difficult and, frankly, less appealing.
So how does CPT actually work? What are its core principles, especially in its first generation?
Okay, first generation CPT has 4 key principles, often rooted in making crime harder and riskier. The first is access control.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just about physical barriers like locks, it's the subtle guidance of entry and exit points. It involves the careful placement of entryways, strategic use of bollards, those short, sturdy posts that block vehicle access.
Right, I've seen those.
And effective lighting to make the desired entry point look inviting, almost like a sign saying, "Enter here." This concept also applies internally, with different security levels within a building. Areas with higher security should be less inviting or have subtle deterrents to make unauthorized access more difficult, clearly signaling where people should and shouldn't go.
I see. So you're guiding behavior through the environment itself. What's the next principle?
The second principle is natural surveillance. This aims to increase opportunities for criminals to be observed.
Makes sense.
Think about open, obstacle-free areas, clear lines of sight, excellent lighting that eliminates dark corners, and promoting an active public presence. If a space is well lit and visible and people are naturally going about their business, it makes it much harder for someone to commit a crime unnoticed.
Yeah.
It's about leveraging the presence of legitimate users to deter illegitimate ones, turning everyday activity into a form of, well, watchfulness.
That makes perfect sense. How about the third one?
The third is image and milieu. This refers to the visual elements and aesthetics of an environment.
Okay.
A well-maintained, aesthetically pleasing space projects a positive image and tends to deter criminal activity. Conversely, neglected spaces, broken windows, overflowing trash, graffiti can invite more crime because they signal a lack of care and oversight.
The broken windows theory, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Milieu encompasses the overall ambiance, things like lighting, landscaping, signage. A positive milieu contributes to a sense of safety and community, while a negative one can foster feelings of insecurity and an impression that maybe no one is watching.
So the feeling of a place really matters. What's the last one for first-generation CPT?
The final principle is territorial control. This is about designing an area to feel inclusive and cared for, clearly signaling that it's defended and that its users have a strong sense of ownership.
Okay.
This can be achieved through things like decorations, flags, company logos, clear visibility of building numbers, and well-maintained sidewalks and landscaping. When an area looks like it's actively cared for and monitored, it discourages intruders who might otherwise feel they don't belong or that their activities would go unnoticed. It creates a kind of psychological barrier.
Those are all really practical. Can you give us a few concrete examples of CPT recommendations in practice? Things you might actually see?
Certainly. Some common recommendations include keeping planters under, say, 2.5 feet tall so they don't provide hiding spots for intruders or steps to reach windows.
Smart.
Decorative elements should be small or located far from the building to avoid providing cover or climbing aids. Strategically, you'd locate a data center at the core of the building, making it harder to reach from the perimeter.
Right.
Providing benches and tables in public areas can encourage people to sit and linger, naturally increasing that surveillance we talked about.
Okay.
Security cameras should probably be mounted in full view to act as a deterrent rather than hidden away. Entrances should be kept to a minimum, especially after hours, and clearly visible. And things like delivery access should be less visible, perhaps located at the back of the building, requiring an alternate road, to avoid attracting attention to the main, more secure entrance.
That's a comprehensive look at the first generation.
Yeah.
But you mentioned second generation CPTED. How does that expand on these ideas? It sounds like it adds a whole new dimension.
Yes. Second-generation CPTID broadens the scope significantly. It moves beyond just physical design to incorporate social aspects.
Ah, the people side.
Exactly. It recognizes that crime prevention is also profoundly influenced by community dynamics and human relationships. Its four principles are social cohesion, community culture, connectivity, and threshold capacity. This shift reflects a deeper understanding that security isn't just about walls, but about the social fabric.
So it's about the people as much as the place now.
Exactly. Social cohesion refers to fostering positive relationships within a community or organization. If people know each other, trust each other, and actively look out for each other, they are inherently more vigilant. It's like having a strong neighborhood watch where everyone knows and looks out for each other, making it much harder for someone to commit a crime unnoticed. This creates a supportive environment that organically deters criminal activity.
That makes sense. What about community culture?
Community culture involves understanding and respecting the unique values, traditions, and norms that shape a community's identity. Security interventions should align with this culture to ensure they are well received and effectively integrated.
Okay.
For example, security measures that are perceived as overly authoritarian or maybe culturally insensitive might be resisted, undermining their effectiveness. By respecting and leveraging the existing culture, you foster a safer and more inclusive environment.
And connectivity.
Connectivity is about creating physical and social links that facilitate interaction and communication among residents or employees. This includes clear pathways, parks, communal spaces that bring people together, enhancing natural surveillance and reducing criminal activities by increasing visibility. It's about designing spaces that encourage legitimate movement and interaction, making illicit activity stand out more.
Finally, threshold capacity. That sounds a bit abstract.
Yeah. Threshold capacity refers to a community's ability to absorb and respond to external influences while maintaining stability and security. It involves understanding how various changes, whether new developments, demographic shifts, economic pressures, might impact the community, and preventing unintended negative consequences that could undermine safety.
Got it.
So if first-generation CPT is like setting up security cameras and good lighting around your house.
Right.
Second-generation CPT is like having that strong neighborhood watch where everyone knows and looks out for each other, and the community itself is designed to support that interaction and absorb changes without fracturing.
That really brings it all together, adding a social layer to the physical. Okay, so we've designed the space, we've thought about site selection, we've considered CPT. Now, how do we actually control access and protect it? What are the different types of controls we implement?
Right, that's the implementation phase. Physical security controls are often grouped together as facility controls. We typically distinguish between three main types: administrative physical security controls, technical physical security controls, and physical controls for physical security. They all work together, forming a holistic approach.
Can you break those down for us? What's administrative in this context? Policies and procedures.
Exactly. Administrative physical security controls are all about policies, procedures, and human management. This includes things like personnel management, background checks, security clearances, vetting staff,
Okay.
implementing awareness programs to educate employees on security protocols, developing and practicing robust emergency response procedures, and making strategic decisions about site management and building design. They define how physical security is managed, often dictating the rules of engagement for all the other controls.
So the rules and the people. What's next? The technical side, the gadgets.
Pretty much. Next are technical physical security controls. These are the electronic and mechanical systems that actively provide security. Think of intrusion detection systems, sophisticated alarms, security cameras, and their continuous monitoring systems. Precise environmental controls like heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC, uninterruptible power supplies and generators, and advanced fire detection and suppression systems. These are the active technological components that monitor, respond to, and often automate reactions to threats.
And finally, the direct physical controls, the walls and locks.
Exactly. The physical controls for physical security are the tangible barriers and direct deterrents. This category includes robust elements like perimeter fences, hardened gates, effective lighting, heavy-duty locks, the very construction materials of the building itself.
Right.
Person traps, also known as man traps, and the presence of security guards or even guard dogs. These are the direct physical deterrents and barriers that physically impede or prevent unauthorized access. All three types, administrative, technical, physical, work in concert to create a truly robust defense.
Is there a logical sequence for deploying all these different controls? Or do you just throw everything at the problem?
No, there's absolutely a functional order. When designing physical security for an environment, you should always focus on this common order of operations, which has 6 steps. Deter, deny, detect, delay, determine, and decide.
Okay, deter, deny, detect, delay, determine, decide.
Got it. Each step builds on the last, creating a systematic approach to handling security incidents.
Okay, that's a lot of Ds. Let's go through them. What's the first one? Deter.
Deter involves the initial attempts to discourage an attacker from even trying. This is about making the potential target look too risky, too difficult, or maybe just not worth the effort. Think of highly visible, no trespassing signs, bright, consistent lighting, security cameras mounted in plain sight, or even a barking guard dog.
Right. Make them go somewhere else.
Exactly. The goal is to make an intruder think twice and ideally choose an easier target, shifting the risk away from your facility. This is your first psychological defense.
Makes sense. Then deny.
If deterrence fails, the next step is to deny direct access to your physical assets. This means actively preventing unauthorized entry.
Hard stop.
Right. A locked vault door, a heavy-duty fence, reinforced walls, or a secure access control system that won't open without proper credentials. These are all examples of denial mechanisms. This is where your physical barriers and strong locks come into play.
And once someone tries to get in, or maybe gets past the denial, you need to detect them.
Precisely. Detect is about identifying an intrusion as it happens or immediately after. This is where your intrusion detection systems come in: motion sensors triggering an alarm, a door sensor alerting security when it's opened, or security cameras capturing suspicious activity and alerting an operator. The sooner you detect an unauthorized presence, the more time you have to respond, and hopefully, the less damage can be done.
Which leads logically to delay.
Yes. If a breach is detected, you want to delay the intruder. This means slowing them down enough to allow your security personnel to respond effectively.
Buying time.
Exactly. A heavy cable lock on a device that takes significant time to cut, reinforced doors that resist forced entry, or multiple layers of physical barriers like a series of locked gates or man-traps all contribute to delay. The longer the delay, the more time security has to react, verify the threat, and intervene, turning a potential breach into a contained incident. This is a critical step.
So once they're delayed, what's next? Determine. Figure out what's happening.
Yes, determine. This step involves ascertaining the cause of the incident and thoroughly assessing the situation. Security staff will analyze camera footage, review access logs, maybe investigate the scene for evidence, and communicate with on-site personnel to understand exactly what happened, who's involved, what assets are at risk, and the extent of the breach. It's about rapidly gathering intelligence to inform the next decisive step.
And finally, decide. Take action.
Decide is about taking informed action based on your assessment. This could mean apprehending the intruder, collecting forensic evidence for further investigation, isolating compromised areas, activating emergency protocols, or contacting law enforcement. This 6-step process, from deterring the initial thought of attack to making a decisive response, really forms the backbone of effective physical security operations. It moves from prevention to active management of an incident.
That's a really clear framework. But, even with all these controls, what happens if the equipment itself breaks down? A sensor fails, a lock jams. How do we plan for that?
Equipment failure is a common cause of availability loss, and preparation is absolutely crucial. You need to understand the criticality of each asset and the associated business process it supports.
Oh, right.
For mission-critical systems, maybe having a 48-hour replacement timeline or even on-site replacement parts might be mandatory. A key tool here is the Service Level Agreement, or SLA.
SLAs, I've heard of those.
Right. This clearly defines the response time a vendor will provide in an emergency, ensuring you get the support you need when something goes wrong. SLAs often include penalties for non-compliance, making them a crucial contractual mechanism for maintaining availability.
So SLAs are about how quickly a vendor will fix things.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other metrics for downtime itself and how long a business can, tolerate it?
Yes, definitely. You also need to consider your allowable interruption window, or AIW. AIW, that's the maximum time a system or business process can be down before critical business impact occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Similar terms you might hear are maximum tolerable downtime, or MTD and maximum tolerable outage, or MTO. They all basically represent the longest period an organization can tolerate a system being unavailable before suffering unacceptable financial, reputational, or operational damage. Determining your AIWMTD is a critical output of your business impact analysis.
And for the lifespan of equipment itself, what terms do we use to predict and manage that? How long will it last?
For measuring equipment reliability and repair times, we use mean time to failure, or MTTF and mean time to repair, or MTTR.
MTTF and MTTR.
Got it. MTTF is the expected typical functional lifetime of a non-repairable device before it fails. For example, if you buy a specific model of light bulb, its MTTF would be the average lifespan you expect before it burns out.
Okay.
Now, while the light bulb analogy simplifies it, for mission-critical IT components, MTTF figures often rely on statistical models and large datasets, not just simple averages. The technical nuance here is that while a high MTTF is desirable, it doesn't predict the exact failure of your specific component.
Right, it's an average.
Exactly. Therefore, a robust maintenance schedule based on manufacturer recommendations, coupled with real-time monitoring, becomes crucial, rather than simply waiting for the statistical average failure to hit you.
And mean time to repair, MTTR, how long to fix it?
Right. NTCR is the average length of time required to perform a repair and restore a system to full functionality. Think about how long it typically takes a mechanic to fix a specific issue with a particular car model. That's your MTTR.
Okay.
Knowing these helps you schedule preventative maintenance and predict when equipment will likely need attention. Lower MTTR values are crucial for critical systems as they directly contribute to higher availability.
And is there a mean time between failures, or MTBF, as well? That sounds similar.
Yes, MTBF is an additional measurement. It represents the expected time until the next failure occurs after a system has been repaired and returned to service.
Ah, okay, between failures.
Right. It's particularly useful for repairable items or for assessing the overall reliability of a complex system over time. For example, if a server's MTBF is, say, 50,000 hours, it means on average you'd expect it to operate for that long before requiring another repair.
Gotcha.
The key across all these metrics, MTTF, MTTR, MTBF, is to schedule hardware replacement and repairs proactively and always have alternate solutions or backups in place. Because waiting until a complete failure occurs is really an unacceptable security and operational practice.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the nerve centers of a building's network. Wiring closets. What are they and why are they so critical? They sound mundane, but maybe they're not.
Wiring closets, along with equipment rooms and data centers, are absolutely foundational to any organization's network infrastructure. They're far from mundane.
Okay.
To manage them effectively, you need a cable plant management policy. This policy defines the physical structure and deployment of all your network cabling, patch panels, switches, and related devices throughout a facility. Think of a building's wiring as its nervous system, or maybe its central switchboard. If someone gains unauthorized access to a wiring closet, they can easily disrupt communications, steal valuable network equipment, tap into data lines, or even plant listening devices. It's a prime target for both internal and external adversaries.
So what are the different elements of this cable plant that need to be managed and secured?
Well, it typically starts with the entrance facility, sometimes known as the main distribution frame, or MDF. This is the demarcation point, or DEMARC, where the external telecommunications provider's cable connects to your internal network infrastructure.
Okay, where the outside meets the inside.
Exactly. Adjacent to it is often the equipment room, which serves as the main wiring closet for the entire building, housing core network devices like routers and main switches. Then you have the backbone distribution system. This provides critical, high-capacity connections between equipment rooms and other telecommunications rooms, maybe across different floors or even different buildings on a campus.
Got it.
Finally, the wiring closet itself serves a specific floor or area. It connects those telecommunications rooms and individual work areas via the horizontal distribution system. That includes all the cabling, patch panels, and hardware infrastructure supporting individual workstations and devices. Each of these components is a vital link in the chain.
It sounds like they're absolutely vital. What are the key security rules for these wiring closets, given their importance? You can't just leave them unlocked, I assume.
Absolutely not. Because of their criticality, security rules are extremely strict. Wiring closets should never be used as general storage areas that just adds clutter, potential fire hazards, and makes it harder to identify unauthorized items or activities.
Like no janitor supplies.
Definitely not. They must have robust locks, ideally biometric or electronic access controls, which also provide an audit trail. Keep the area tidy and organized to prevent tripping hazards and ensure clear access for legitimate maintenance. Never store flammable items in these areas, as cable plants themselves can contribute to fire spread.
Yep.
You should also implement video surveillance to monitor activity within and around the closet, and use door-open sensors to log access attempts and durations. Crucially, access should be highly restricted. No one should have keys or access codes except the authorized administrator and essential personnel.
Makes sense.
Regular physical inspections are a must to check security and contents, and you need environmental monitoring for things like flooding or fire. All of these measures reduce unauthorized access attempts and the risk of accidental or malicious damage.
And how do you protect the cables themselves from tampering or eavesdropping, especially for sensitive data flowing through them? Can someone just tap into a cable?
That's where protected cable distribution systems, or PDS, come in. The goal of a PDS is threefold: deter violations, detect any access attempts, and prevent compromise of the cables.
Okay.
This is achieved through elements like protective conduits, think hardened steel pipes, sealed connections, and regular human inspections. It's like putting your valuable postal mail in an armored car instead of just a regular envelope.
Good analogy.
The conduits are often hardened steel or concrete encasements that make it incredibly difficult for someone to physically intercept or tamper with the data flowing through those cables. Connections are sealed and often monitored with tamper-evident systems. Some advanced PDS implementations can even detect intrusion within the conduits themselves using fiber optic sensors or pressure plates, alerting security immediately if someone attempts to compromise the cabling. This is absolutely crucial for transmitting classified or highly sensitive data.
Okay, moving up the chain. Server rooms and data centers. These are clearly the brains of any organization. What are the specific physical security considerations for these critical areas beyond what we've already discussed for wiring closets?
Right. Server rooms, data centers, communications rooms, server vaults, and IT closets are all classified as enclosed, restricted, and highly protected areas. They're designed specifically to house mission-critical systems, servers, data storage, network equipment.
The crown jewels.
Pretty much. They are often configured as lights-out areas, meaning they are optimized for efficiency rather than human comfort. Minimal lighting, often only requiring human presence for maintenance. Design considerations are stringent. A minimum 1-hour fire rating for walls, ceilings, and floors is usually required, with specialized low temperatures for optimal equipment performance.
Where is the best place to locate them within a building? Thinking about all the threats we've talked about: fire, water, intruders.
Location is crucial, and it's about minimizing environmental risks. Ideally, they are at the core of the building, away from external walls, maybe on an upper floor to mitigate ground-level threats like vehicle ramming or easy access,
Okay.
or potentially in the basement, but only if carefully designed to avoid water or sewage lines. Those lines can cause catastrophic damage if they leak or burst.
Right. Water and servers do not mix.
Definitely not. You must never locate critical IT infrastructure directly under or next to them. Imagine. You wouldn't put your own heart next to a leaky water pipe. It needs to be the most secure, environmentally controlled, and access-restricted part of the entire facility.
Makes sense.
Data centers can also be separate buildings, remote locations, co-location facilities where you lease space, or even cloud service provider, or CSP arrangements. Each has its own physical security considerations, particularly around the shared responsibility model.
Okay.
But regardless of the type, robust physical access control mechanisms like smart cards, proximity devices, and intrusion detection systems, or IDSs, focusing on physical intruders, are absolutely essential.
We all have badges or ID cards for work. How do these play into physical security, and what exactly makes a smart card smart? Is it just the chip?
Badges, identification cards, security IDs, they're fundamental forms of physical identification and often electronic access control devices. They function as a something you have authentication factor.
Right.
A badge can be as simple as a visible name tag, or it can be a sophisticated smart card. Smart cards often employ multi-factor authentication, or MFA, by combining the card itself with a personal identification number, or PIN, or a biometric, like a fingerprint.
Okay.
Smart cards, like you might see illustrated in Figure 10.1 of a CISSP study guide, are typically credit card-sized IDs with an embedded magnetic stripe, maybe a barcode, but most importantly, an integrated circuit, or IC chip.
The chip.
Yes, that IC chip is what makes them smart. It can contain encrypted information about the authorized bearer, process data locally for authentication, or store significant amounts of data in its memory. There are different types, including a basic IC's card, a more advanced processor IC card, which has its own little CPU, and those that comply with the ISO 7816 interface standard, ISO 70816, which defines the physical and electrical characteristics for how smart cards communicate.
And they're like tiny digital passports with some processing power. What about magnetic stripe cards? Are they still used much? Seems like older tech.
Magnetic stripe cards are indeed older technology, where data is stored on, well, a magnetic stripe. They're still used in things like ATM cards or older credit card systems, and are often paired with a PA for authentication.
Okay.
However, smart cards are considered a far more reliable security solution than simple magnetic stripe cards. Why? Because the data on an IC chip is much harder to copy, duplicate, or skim. Plus, they can perform cryptographic operations directly on the card itself, providing more secure, verifiable information.
And what happens when an employee leaves the company?
Yeah.
It seems like retrieving those badges, especially smart cards, would be critical.
Absolutely critical. During the offboarding process for terminated employees, badges must be retrieved and immediately destroyed or deactivated to prevent any unauthorized future access. This is a non-negotiable step in security.
Right.
Also, security features on badges should be designed to minimize replication, things like holograms, microprinting, or custom watermarks. And for clear identification of risk, visitor badges often use distinct colors or markings to make them easily identifiable, especially in areas requiring an escort. It clearly signals that the bearer is not a permanent employee.
Okay, let's talk about proximity devices.
Yeah.
How do they differ from, say, swiping a card or inserting a smart card? Seems like you just wave them.
Exactly. Proximity devices are a key component of physical access control systems. Unlike swiping a magnetic card or inserting a smart card, you typically don't need to make physical contact with the reader. Simply bringing the device within a certain range will authenticate you.
Convenient.
Very. There are three main types. A passive device has no internal electronics or battery. It's commonly used in retail anti-theft tags. It worked by detecting an alteration in an electromagnetic, or EM field generated by the reader. A field-powered device activates only when it enters an EM field from the reader. It actually draws electricity from that field to power itself and often uses radio frequency identification, or RFID technology. These are common for building access where you tap or wave your badge.
Got it.
And finally, a transponder device. This has its own power source, like batteries or capacitors, and transmits a signal only when a button is pressed, much like your garage door opener or car alarm key fob.
Ah, okay.
You don't have to put your car key into the ignition anymore, right? Just being proximate allows the car to recognize it. Or in the case of a building, it opens the door. Same principle.
That's a great analogy. So what about when someone wants to leave a secured area? I've heard the term automatic request to exit, or AREX. What is that, and how does it ensure safety? Seems important for emergencies.
It is. Automatic request to exit, or ARFX, is a crucial security system feature that automatically unlocks a secured door or gate when someone wishes to exit from the inside. It's all about ensuring ease and safety of egress or leaving while maintaining robust security for entry. Okay. It typically involves proximity sensors, motion detectors, infrared sensors, or maybe pressure-sensitive mats placed on the egress side of the door. Think of an emergency exit door in a building.
Right, push bar.
Exactly. It's locked from the outside to prevent unauthorized entry, but from the inside, a simple push bar or a motion sensor will automatically open it, ensuring people can get out quickly and safely without needing credentials just to leave. This is absolutely crucial for life safety, especially during emergencies, preventing a bottleneck in an evacuation.
We hear about intrusion detection systems, or IDSs, a lot in network security. But how do they apply to physical intrusion detection? It sounds like more than just a loud alarm.
Right. Physical intrusion detection systems, or IDSs, are also sometimes called burglary alarms. They are automated or sometimes manual systems designed to detect unauthorized physical attempts, breaches, or abnormal activity within a protected area. Common types include simple circuit dry contact switches on doors and windows that alert when a circuit is broken, maybe wire grids embedded in walls, or surface-mounted foil strips on glass that detect when the glass is broken. Critical features for any robust physical IDS include a power backup system that can last for at least 24 hours in case of power loss, and a heartbeat sensor for communication line supervision.
A heartbeat sensor, what's that do?
This heartbeat is a mechanism that periodically checks the communication signal from the detection station back to the alarm panel. It ensures the alarm system is still connected and operational. If the signal is lost or intermittent, maybe someone cut the wire, it triggers an alarm, preventing an attacker from simply disabling the system silently.
Clever. What about motion detectors? How do those work in this physical context, and what are the different technologies involved? Seems like there are a few.
Yes, motion detectors are a key component of IDSs, and they use various technologies to sense movement. A digital motion detector is essentially a smart security camera that monitors significant changes in the digital pattern of a monitored area. It uses advanced algorithms to try and differentiate between legitimate and suspicious movement.
Okay.
A passive infrared, or PIR, detector senses heat levels. It's like a sensor that sees the heat signature of a body moving through a room. Very common.
Right.
A wave pattern or microwave motion detector transmits a continuous low ultrasonic or high microwave frequency signal and detects disturbances in the reflected pattern. These are good for large open areas.
Mm-hmm.
A capacitance motion detector senses changes in the electrical or magnetic field surrounding a monitored object, often used for protecting specific valuable items or safes. Photoelectric motion detectors detect changes in visible light levels and are often used indoors without windows, or as light beams across an entry break the beam, trigger the alarm. There are also passive audio motion detectors that listen for abnormal sounds, like breaking glass. And importantly, many advanced systems use dual technology sensors. They combine two technologies, like, say, an infrared motion sensor and a microwave motion detector, to significantly reduce false alarms by requiring both conditions to be met before triggering.
Ah, reduces false alarms. That's smart. And what about detecting breaches along the actual perimeter of a property, like a fence line? How do those systems differ?
For perimeter breach detection, we use specialized mechanisms. These include contact devices, often balanced magnetic switches, or BMS. These detect when a door or window is opened because the magnetic switch pulls away from its counterpart, breaking the circuit. Another common method is infrared linear beam sensors. These project an invisible light beam across a protected area, maybe along a fence or across a wide doorway. They detect when someone crosses a threshold or opening by breaking that light beam. Think of it like a laser tripwire that triggers an alarm the moment someone walks through it. These are often used across fence lines or between buildings to create an invisible barrier.
So once an intrusion is detected, an alarm is triggered, what kinds of physical alarms are there? Are they all just loud sirens? And how do they function to either deter or notify?
Good question. Intrusion alarms can broadly be categorized by their purpose and location. Deterrent alarms are designed to make further intrusion difficult, maybe additional locks that engage automatically or doors that automatically shut and resecure.
Mm-hmm.
Repellent alarms use an immediate, obvious signal like a loud audio siren or bell, combined with flashing lights to actively discourage intruders and attract attention to the scene.
The loud ones.
Right. Then you have notification alarms. These are typically silent from the intruder's perspective. They quietly trigger a notification to security personnel, law enforcement, or other administrators. They often record the event in log files and camera recordings for later analysis without alerting the intruder that they've been detected.
And by location, what are the types? Where does the alarm actually go?
By location, alarms fall into three primary categories. A local alarm system broadcasts an audible signal nearby, like a car alarm. It's intended to scare off an immediate threat and alert people in the vicinity.
Okay.
A central station system sends the alarm quietly to off-site monitoring agents. Think third-party services like Brox or ADT. These agents then dispatch responders based on pre-agreed protocols. A proprietary system is similar to a central station system, but it's self-managed by the organization's own security staff in their own security control room.
Got it. In-house monitoring.
Exactly. Finally, an auxiliary alarm system is connected to local or centralized alarms and adds direct notification to emergency services like fire, police, or medical. It effectively brings external first responders directly into the loop when specific conditions are met.
That's a lot of different alarms and sensors. How do we prevent false alarms with all these systems potentially going off? That seems like a huge operational headache.
It can be. That's where secondary verification mechanisms come in, and they're crucial. When you use intrusion detectors, sensors, and alarms, incorporating 2 or more triggers in quick succession before an alarm is issued can significantly reduce false positives.
Okay, like needing 2 things to happen.
Right. For example, a system might require both a motion sensor and a door contact switch to trigger within, say, 5 seconds of each other before sounding a full alarm. This helps ignore innocent events like animals, bugs, or maybe vegetation blowing in the wind, triggering a single sensor. It ensures that when an alarm does go off, it's a reliable indication of an actual intrusion or attack. It prevents security teams from becoming desensitized to constant false alerts, which is a real danger.
How do security cameras fit into all of this? They seem to be everywhere now.
Yeah.
And what are some of their advanced capabilities? They're not just grainy black and white anymore.
Not at all. Security cameras, often part of a closed-circuit television or CCTV system, are vital tools for video surveillance and creating digital records of events. Their positioning is key at exit and entry points, around valuable assets, in public areas, parking structures, always ensuring clear lines of sight without blind spots.
Right.
Modern cameras aren't just for recording anymore. Internet Protocol or IP cameras are network connectable, allowing them to be remotely controlled, and their footage can be transmitted over a network. Many have pan, tilt, and zoom, or PTZ capabilities for wider coverage and remote focusing.
Yeah.
Some systems even have system on a chip, or SoC embedded components. These allow for advanced functions like time-lapse recording, automatic object tracking, facial recognition, intelligent object detection like distinguishing a person from an animal, and specialized infrared or color-filtered recording for different lighting conditions.
That's a huge leap from just recording video. They're becoming much smarter, almost like little computers.
Indeed, we're seeing enhanced video surveillance, or EVS, systems that go far beyond simple recording. They can detect objects, recognize faces by comparing them against databases, trigger video retention automatically when certain events occur, and even notify security personnel or sound an alarm based on specific events. Some can perform gait analysis, which evaluates how someone walks for biometric authentication, recognizing unique walking patterns. This is particularly useful when facial recognition might be obscured, maybe by a mask.
Gait analysis, how someone walks.
Yes, it's surprisingly unique. Motion recognition can trigger video recording and track movement across a wide area. Essentially, security cameras are the eyes of the security system, and advanced ones are like having highly trained human observers who can not only see but also recognize patterns, faces, even how someone walks.
Incredible.
And then immediately alert you to anything unusual, all while reducing false positives using machine learning and improved image recognition. Of course, the ethical implications of such advanced surveillance are also a growing area of discussion, requiring careful policy implementation to balance security with privacy.
People are often the weakest link in security, right? Even with all these high-tech systems.
Yeah.
What are some common ways physical access controls are abused by, well, people?
You're absolutely right. Human factors are a significant vulnerability. Common access abuses include impersonation, where someone pretends to be someone else, maybe a technician, a delivery person, to gain trust and access.
Okay.
And masquerading, which is specifically using someone else's stolen or borrowed security ID or credentials to gain entry.
Right, using their badge.
Exactly. And a very common one, incredibly difficult to stop sometimes, is tailgating, also known as piggybacking. This is when an unauthorized person gains entry by following closely behind an authorized person through a secured door or turnstile without presenting their own credentials.
Ah, the polite door hold gone wrong.
Precisely. Imagine one person scanning their ticket at an amusement park turnstile, and then another person quickly slips through right behind them before the gate closes. That's tailgating. It's often enabled by polite complacency, where people hold doors open without verifying identity.
And how do we catch these abuses? Especially if they're subtle, like tailgating. Seems hard to track.
This is exactly why audit trails and access logs are so crucial. They provide a chronological record of physical access events. Whether generated manually by security guards logging visitors or automatically by smart cards and proximity devices linked to electronic locks, these logs are essential.
Okay.
They track who entered, when, and where. They are indispensable for root cause analysis of incidents, reconstructing events if an intrusion, breach, or attack occurs, and verifying compliance. Security cameras, combined with these logs, significantly enhance the ability to compare events, identify anomalies, and verify authorization, turning a simple entry into a forensically traceable event.
Even in these super high-tech environments, old-fashioned keys and combination locks are still around. What makes them secure, relatively, and what are their main weaknesses?
You're right. Locks are a crude but still very present form of identification and authorization. We have preset locks, which come with a preset combination or key. Deadbolt locks, which offer enhanced resistance against forced entry because the bolt goes deeper into the frame, or conventional locks, which are your standard pin tumbler locks you probably have on your house.
Okay.
These are the most common and often inexpensive forms of physical access control. However, traditional mechanical locks have significant vulnerabilities that can be exploited, especially by someone with a bit of skill.
Like lockpicking.
Yes, but even simpler attacks. Two common ones are shimming, where a thin piece of metal, a shim, is used to manipulate the lock mechanism from the outside, bypassing the tumblers entirely. And bumping, which involves using a specially cut bump key. You insert it, strike it precisely, and it can cause the pins to jump simultaneously, allowing the cylinder to turn. These techniques can often leave no visible signs of forced entry, making them particularly insidious.
Wow, okay. So how do electronic locks improve on this, especially against those kinds of attacks?
Electronic Access Control, or EAC, locks are a significant upgrade. They utilize electromagnets and sensors, often integrated with a re-engagement mechanism, making them far more resilient to shimming or bumping.
Right, no pins to bump.
Exactly. An EAC lock not only lets you in, but also monitors how long doors stay open and can trigger alarms if they're left ajar for too long or if someone tries to force them open. It's like a smart lock for a building.
Okay.
It not only lets authorized people in, but also logs who entered, when, and can alert you if the door is left open or if someone tries to force it. EACs can also verify identity before granting access, serving as a verification device for security guards at a perimeter entrance, and they seamlessly integrate with IDSs and access logs to provide a comprehensive security picture. They offer remote management and granular control over access privileges, which is simply impossible with traditional keys.
Beyond intruders trying to get in, what about securing the physical data itself? Things like hard drives, backup tapes, or even physical legal evidence.
That's a critical area, and you're right, it often gets overlooked in the rush to secure networks. For media storage facilities, the need to store blank, reusable, and even installation media securely cannot be overstated.
Why blank media?
Because it prevents theft, corruption, and maybe even the planting of malware or unauthorized software onto seemingly blank media before it's used. We're talking about everything from tape backups, external hard drives, USB sticks, optical discs, to critical software installation media.
Okay.
Different types of media may require specific environmental controls, for example, cool, dry, dust-free environments for magnetic tapes to prevent degradation. Security should be tiered based on the data classifications stored on the media, ranging from a locked cabinet for unclassified backups to a reinforced vault for highly sensitive classified information. Inventory management is also crucial to track all media meticulously.
And what happens when media is decommissioned or retired? I've heard about data remnants. Is that like data ghosts?
Sort of. Data remnants are basically information left on storage devices after insufficient sanitization. Simply deleting files doesn't truly erase them. The data often still exists on the disk and can be recovered with forensic tools.
Wow.
This is why zeroization is crucial. It's a procedure that overwrites the actual data by replacing it with meaningless data, like all zeros or a random pattern, making it forensically unrecoverable. Think of it like writing on a whiteboard and then just wiping it with your hand.
Right, you can still see faint marks.
Exactly, it looks gone, but if you look closely or use a special cleaner, you can still see faint traces of what was there. Proper zeroization, or even better, cryptographic erasure or physical destruction, makes sure those traces are gone permanently. For highly sensitive data, the physical destruction methods like shredding, pulverizing, or degaussing for magnetic media are often mandated. Also, hashing is essential to verify the integrity of media content during its life cycle, ensuring it hasn't been tampered with.
What about evidence storage? Especially for cybersecurity incidents and forensic investigations, that sounds like it needs an even higher level of control, like a police evidence room.
Exactly like that. Evidence storage is distinct and absolutely crucial for root cause analysis in cybersecurity incidents and forensic investigations. It requires a meticulous chain of custody to be legally admissible.
Okay.
Controls include dedicated storage, physically separate from the production network, offline storage that isn't connected to the internet to prevent further compromise or tampering, strict blocking of internet connectivity to and from the storage system, meticulous activity tracking logs to show who accessed what and when, hashing all data sets to ensure integrity against alteration, limiting access to only specifically authorized security administrators or legal counsel, and encrypting all data stored on the system. The integrity of digital evidence is paramount for legal proceedings or internal investigations, so any physical access must be highly controlled and documented.
So, beyond the server room and the evidence locker. What about our everyday workspaces? Our desks, our cubicles? What are the security concerns there that people might not immediately think about?
Work area security is about designing internal security for general work areas and also visitor areas, recognizing that even a seemingly innocuous cubicle can be a point of vulnerability. You need to consider who has access to what information just by being nearby.
Right.
Common concerns include shoulder surfing, which is basically eavesdropping by observing someone's screen or keyboard as they type passwords or sensitive information, and general eavesdropping on sensitive conversations.
Okay.
These are like someone looking over your shoulder as you top your PI out at an ATM. Without proper controls, sensitive discussions or visual data can be easily compromised in an open office environment.
What's a common policy to mitigate these, especially shoulder surfing and just leaving stuff out?
Implementing a clean desk policy is highly effective, though sometimes unpopular.
I bet.
Yeah. It means clearing all sensitive information documents, notes, removable media from desks and computer screens at the end of the day, or even when leaving your desk for an extended period and storing it securely, like in a locked drawer or file cabinet.
Okay.
It prevents casual observation and theft of information or physical assets. Leaving sensitive documents on your desk is like leaving your car unlocked with your wallet sitting on the seat. Walls and partitions in work areas should ideally go all the way to the structural ceiling to prevent acoustic eavesdropping and provide a physical barrier between secure and less secure areas. Screen filters, privacy screens can also help prevent shoulder surfing on monitors.
And what about extremely sensitive areas, like for government or military work, where data is highly classified? There must be something more than just a clean desk policy.
Oh, absolutely. For highly sensitive data, organizations, especially in government or military sectors, often utilize a sensitive compartmented information facility, or SCIF, usually pronounced SCIF.
Oh,
A SCIF is a secure environment specifically designed and accredited for the storage, processing, and computation of sensitive compartmented information, or SCI, which is a type of classified information requiring special handling. Access to a CIF is extremely limited, requiring specific security clearance levels and SCI approval for the specific programs involved.
so super secure. What makes it so secure physically?
Beyond the restricted access, the technical specifications of a SCIF are incredibly stringent. We're talking about specialized construction materials designed to prevent acoustic leakage so conversations can't be heard outside. Electromagnetic shielding, essentially a Faraday cage to contain electronic emissions and prevent electronic eavesdropping from outside. And often multiple layers of biometric and maybe even behavioral authentication at entry points. These aren't just secure rooms, they are meticulously engineered environments designed to defeat highly sophisticated eavesdropping and intrusion attempts, potentially from state-sponsored actors. A SCIF can be a permanent installation, a temporary establishment, or even a vehicle, reflecting the absolute highest level of physical security for classified information.
Okay, switching gears again slightly. It's not just about intruders, right? What about the mundane day-to-day things like power and environmental factors that can bring a system down? These seem less dramatic than a break-in, but maybe just as devastating.
You're hitting on a critical point. Reliable operations depend heavily, fundamentally, on consistent utilities. Power, noise levels, temperature, and humidity. Let's start with power. Power fluctuations are a common, yet often insidious cause of equipment damage and data corruption.
Right. Flickering lights are bad for servers.
Exactly. This is why surge protectors, which protect against sudden spikes in voltage, and power conditioners, or power line conditioners, which filter out electrical noise and regulate voltage, are essential. They protect against overloads and inconsistencies in the power feed.
And what about when the power goes out completely or there are significant dips, brownouts?
For momentary or prolonged power loss, an uninterruptible power supply, or UPS, is vital. A UPS is essentially a self-charging battery system that provides continuous power during outages.
Okay.
Think of it as a backup battery for your computer or server rack. If the wall power goes out, it kicks in immediately, giving you minutes or maybe hours to gracefully shut down systems or allow critical operations to continue without interruption.
Are there different kinds of UPS?
Yes, there are two main types generally. A double conversion UPS, sometimes called online UPS, constantly converts AC power from the wall to DC to charge the battery, then back to clean AC to power devices. This means devices are always running off the UPS battery's inverter, providing the cleanest, most consistent power. And a line interactive UPS, which monitors the incoming power and regulates voltage, but only switches to battery power if the grid actually fails or goes outside acceptable ranges. It's generally less expensive, but provides slightly less protection than a double conversion model.
So UPS for short-term issues, but what about longer outages, like a true blackout that lasts hours or days?
For long-term power loss, like a serious brownout or a complete blackout, you need generators. These are designed to provide power for hours or even days, ensuring business continuity during extended grid failures.
Right, the big noisy boxes outside.
Usually, yeah. However, their fuel source, often diesel or natural gas, and regular maintenance are critical. A generator is like having a large external power bank that can keep your entire house or even a data center running for days, but only if it's fueled, meticulously well-maintained, and tested regularly, with automatic transfer switches to seamlessly kick in when the grid power fails.
What are some of the specific power issues we need to be aware of beyond just outages?
Yeah.
There seem to be a lot of terms for flaky power.
There's indeed a specific vocabulary for power quality issues. A fault is a momentary, complete loss of power, just a blip. A blackout is a prolonged, complete loss of power, like a neighborhood-wide power cut.
Okay.
A sag is a momentary low-voltage condition. If it's prolonged, it's called a brownout. These can cause equipment to malfunction or reboot unexpectedly.
Right.
A spike is a momentary high voltage, often caused by lightning or large electrical loads turning off nearby. A surge is a prolonged high voltage condition. Inrush is the initial temporary spike of current when connecting to a power source, often when equipment is first turned on. And finally, ground. Ground refers to the alternate path for electricity to flow safely to Earth. It's critical for electrical safety, preventing shock, and ensuring system stability by providing a common electrical reference point.
That's a lot of terms.
It is. While these definitions seem straightforward, the real insight comes from understanding which of these subtle fluctuations, like sags or inrush, are often overlooked in standard setups, but can cumulatively degrade equipment over time, leading to unexpected failures down the line. Many companies overfocus on blackouts, ignoring the death by 1,000 cuts from less dramatic power inconsistencies. All these issues can cause serious damage to sensitive electronic equipment if not protected against properly.
What about noise in the power supply?
Yeah.
Like interference from other equipment or electromagnetic interference? Can that cause problems?
Yes, absolutely. Noise refers to power interference through disturbance, interruption, or fluctuation, often caused by nearby electrical devices. Two common types are electromagnetic interference, or EMI, and radio frequency interference, or RFI. These can cause data transmission errors, system instability, and hardware degradation over time. They're often generated by sources like fluorescent lights, electric motors, radio transmitters, or even other network cables running in parallel in the same conduit.
How do you protect against that?
Protection involves proper grounding techniques, using shielded cables like shielded twisted pair STP to block interference, or, often the best solution, switching to fiber optic cables, which are inherently immune to EMI and RFI because they transmit data using light instead of electricity.
Moving on from power, what about the actual air quality and temperature in a server room? These are often depicted as really cold, clinical spaces for a reason, right?
Absolutely. Temperature, humidity, and static are critical environmental factors for optimal equipment operation and longevity. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC systems are essential to maintain the precise environment needed.
How precise are we talking?
Well, computer rooms are generally kept within a specific range, often recommended between 59 and 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 15 to 32 degrees Celsius, depending on the equipment specifications and density. Humidity is also crucial, typically maintained between 20 and 80% relative humidity.
Why is humidity so important? Too dry, too wet?
Both are bad. High humidity can lead to condensation and corrosion, but low humidity is particularly dangerous because it increases the risk of electrostatic discharge, or ESD.
Static electricity.
Exactly. ESD can cause significant, often invisible damage to sensitive electronic components. A human body walking across a carpet on a dry day can easily generate up to a 20,000-volt static discharge that can literally destroy sensitive circuits with a single touch.
Wow, 20,000 volts.
Yes. Anti-static carpeting, proper grounding of racks and personnel using wrist straps, and maintaining proper humidity levels all help mitigate this significant risk. Table 10.1 in the CISSP guide often shows the static voltage levels generated by common activities and the potential damage they can cause.
That's a shocking amount of static. And I've heard of hot and cold aisles in data centers. What are those and how do they make things more efficient? Sounds like grocery store planning.
It's a bit like that. Hot and cold aisles are a key technique for optimizing server room temperature control and energy efficiency. Server racks are arranged in rows, creating alternating aisles.
Okay.
Cold air, usually supplied from under a raised floor or from overhead ducts, is delivered into the cold aisles. The front of the servers, the intake side, face these cold aisles and draw the cool air in.
Right.
The servers then expel hot air from their rear exhaust vents into the alternating hot aisles. This hot air is then captured by the HVAC system's return vents, usually located at the ceiling level of the hot aisles, and is cooled and recirculated or expelled from the facility.
So you're containing the airflows.
Precisely. It's like a grocery store aisle where one side is for frozen foods, cold, and the other is for baking supplies, hot. You want to keep the cold air contained for the freezers and manage the hot air, and you wouldn't want them mixing inefficiently. Servers are similar. They need specific directed airflow to stay cool, and this method prevents the hot exhaust air from mixing with the cold intake air, greatly improving cooling efficiency and significantly reducing energy costs. This efficiency is often measured by something called power usage effectiveness, or PUE.
And what about plenums? I've heard that term. How do they relate to environmental control and safety?
A plenum is typically the space used for conditioned air movement, often the space above drop ceilings or below raised floors in an office building or data center. It's frequently used for routing HVAC ductwork and sometimes even network or electrical cables. Now, due to building codes, any space used as a plenum must be constructed with fire-rated materials, and any cables run through it must also be plenum-rated, meaning they produce less smoke and toxic fumes when burned. This is because of the high potential for smoke and toxic gases to spread rapidly through the plenum space during a fire, potentially incapacitating people on other floors.
Fire hazard.
Yes. You also want to maintain positive air pressure in critical areas like data centers. This means the internal air pressure is kept slightly higher than the surrounding areas or the outside. When a door is opened, air flows out rather than in, which helps reduce dust, debris, and contaminants from entering the controlled environment, further protecting sensitive equipment.
What about water issues? Seems like water and electronics really don't mix, but what are the specific concerns and mitigations in a facility context?
Exactly. Your environmental safety policy must rigorously address water issues like leakage and flooding. Water plus electricity equals significant risk of electrical shock, catastrophic equipment damage, and data loss.
So location matters again.
Hugely. Server rooms should ideally be located away from water sources or transport pipes. Think bathrooms, kitchens, janitorial closets, or even external drainage pipes running down walls. If pipes must cross critical areas, they should ideally be located under raised floors with drainage, not above critical equipment racks where a leak would drip directly onto servers.
Right. Makes sense.
Water detection circuits or sensors are essential around mission-critical systems. These are typically placed on the floor, especially in low points or around pipe entry points, and sound an alarm if even a small amount of water is detected. Proper emergency shutoff valves for water lines entering the area and adequate floor drainage systems are also critical.
Okay.
And again, site selection should consider historical flood risks based on location. Is it on a hill or in a valley? And the floor choice basements are naturally more susceptible to flooding than upper floors. You wouldn't put your expensive home electronics directly under a leaky ceiling, right? Water sensors are like highly sensitive sponges that immediately alert you if there's even a drip, giving you precious time to react before major damage occurs.
Okay, let's talk about fire. It's a major, potentially catastrophic threat to any facility. How do we protect against it, and what are the different ways fires are fought, especially around sensitive electronics?
Fire protection is absolutely a primary security concern because it threatens not just property and data, but human life first and foremost. To understand fire and how to combat it effectively, we first look at the fire triangle. You might see this in Figure 10.3 of the study guide. It has three sides: fuel, heat, and a chemical reaction, which is often facilitated by oxygen.
Fuel, heat, oxygen, chemical reaction.
Okay, the fundamental principle is that if you remove any one of these three elements, the fire will be extinguished. It's about breaking the triangle.
How do different methods do that?
Well, water primarily suppresses temperature by cooling the fuel below its ignition point. Soda acid or dry powders primarily suppress the fuel by creating a barrier or reacting with it chemically. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, primarily suppresses oxygen by displacing it, essentially smothering the fire. Halon substitutes or other non-flammable gases interfere with the chemical chain reaction of combustion or suppress oxygen. And aqueous film forming foam, or AFFF, suppresses both temperature and fuel by creating a cooling, suffocating blanket over the burning material.
That's a clear model for how fires work and how to stop them. What are the stages of a fire? Is it important to know these for detection?
Yes, understanding the stages helps in selecting the right detection methods. There are 4 primary stages of fire, often depicted in diagrams like Figure 10.4. Stage 1 is the incipient stage. This is the very beginning. There might only be air ionization, no visible smoke or flame yet. It's the subtle point of ignition where molecular changes are occurring. This is the ideal stage for detection using very sensitive detectors because it allows for the earliest possible intervention.
Okay, before you even see smoke.
Exactly. Then comes stage 2, the smoke stage, where visible smoke appears but still no flame. This is often detected by standard optical or photoelectric smoke detectors. Stage 3 is the flame stage, where the fire becomes visible, flames erupt, and heat is rapidly increasing. Finally, stage 4 is the heat stage. This is characterized by intense heat buildup as the area burns fiercely, often leading to flashover where everything ignites and causing structural damage. The earlier you detect a fire, ideally in the incipient or smoke stage, the easier it is to extinguish, the less damage it will cause, and crucially, the less risk to human life.
So early detection is absolutely key. What about fire management and training for personnel? It seems like human response is just as important as the automated systems.
It is. Personnel awareness and training are critical for effective fire management. Everyone in a facility should be intimately familiar with escape procedures, clearly marked evacuation routes indicated by illuminated exit signs and floor maps posted strategically, and the location and correct use of different classes of fire extinguishers appropriate for their work area.
Right. Know your exits.
And know your extinguishers. Organizations also need to have comprehensive emergency response training, including potentially cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR, and how to use automated external defibrillator or AED devices if available. Fire drills should be conducted regularly. They're mandated by law in many places to ensure personnel know exactly how to react calmly and efficiently in an emergency, reducing panic and ensuring an organized evacuation. This human element is irreplaceable, even with the best systems.
What are the different classes of fire extinguishers? It seems really important to know which one to grab in a panic. Grabbing the wrong one could be bad.
Very bad, yes. Fire extinguishers are indeed classified based on the type of fire they are designed to suppress, and using the wrong one can be ineffective or even dangerous. Class A fires involve common combustibles like wood, paper, cloth, and plastics. These are typically suppressed with water or soda acid, which cool the fuel. Class B fires involve flammable liquids such as oil, grease, gasoline, and paints. These are suppressed by smothering agents like aqueous film forming foam, AFFF, carbon dioxide, CO2, or halon substitutes clean agents, which cut off the oxygen supply or interfere with the chemical reaction. Class C fires are electrical fires involving energized electrical equipment. Here, CO2 or halon substitutes clean agents are used because water and other conductive liquids are highly unsafe due to the risk of electrocution. Oxygen suppression is also key for burning metals sometimes found in electrical gear. Class D fires involve combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, or potassium, often found in industrial settings or labs. These require specialized dry powder agents formulated for specific metals. Finally, Class K fires are specifically for cooking media, like fats and oils found in commercial kitchens. These are suppressed with alkaline mixtures like potassium acetate, which create a saponification effect, essentially turning the burning grease into a non-combustible soap-like substance. Wow.
Okay.
It's critical for staff to know the classification of potential fires in their area and the corresponding extinguishers available. Using water on a Class B or C fire could spread the fire or cause electrocution.
How do fire detection systems actually work? Beyond just the basic smoke alarm we have at home, what are the different technologies?
Fire detection systems use various sophisticated mechanisms to detect fires early. Fixed temperature detection systems trigger an alarm when a specific preset temperature is reached. They're simple and reliable against false alarms, but can be slow to react to smoldering fires. Rate of rise detection systems trigger when the temperature changes rapidly over a short period. These are good for quickly identifying issues like HVAC heating malfunctions that could indicate a rapidly escalating fire, reacting faster than fixed temp detectors in some scenarios. Flame-actuated systems detect the specific infrared, IR, or ultraviolet UV energy wavelength emitted by flames, offering very fast detection for open flaming fires, but they can be susceptible to false alarms from other IR-UV sources if not properly calibrated. Smoke-actuated systems are very common. Photoelectric sensors work by detecting light obstruction or scattering caused by visible smoke particles entering the sensor chamber. They're generally good for smoldering fires that produce a lot of smoke. Ionization sensors use a tiny amount of radioactive material, like americium, to ionize air within a chamber. Smoke particles entering the chamber disrupt this ionization, reducing the current flow and triggering an alarm. They tend to be better at detecting fast flaming fires that produce smaller combustion particles. Incipient smoke detection, often using aspirating smoke detectors, ASD, uses highly sensitive sensors that actively draw air samples through a network of pipes into a central detector for extremely early detection, even before smoke is visible to the human eye or detectable by standard spot detectors. Okay. Strategic placement of these detectors is crucial in drop ceilings, under raised floors, inside server racks, in server rooms, private offices, elevator shafts, basements to ensure comprehensive coverage based on the specific risks of each area.
And once a fire is detected, how are water suppression systems deployed? Are they all just sprinklers that soak everything?
Not quite, although that's the most common image. There are 4 main types of water suppression systems, each designed for different environments and risk tolerances regarding water damage versus fire damage. 1. A wet pipe system is the most common and simplest. The pipes are always full of water under pressure. When a sprinkler head is activated by heat melting a fusible link or breaking a glass bulb, water discharges immediately. It's like a garden hose that's always connected to the tap and ready to spray. Simple, reliable, and fast for general office spaces. 2. A dry pipe system contains compressed inert gas, typically air or nitrogen, in the pipes instead of water. Water is held back by a special dry pipe valve. When a sprinkler head activates due to heat, the gas pressure drops, the valve opens, and water flows into the pipes and out the activated head. This is used in areas where water might freeze, like unheated warehouses or parking garages, or where accident discharge from a broken pipe is a major concern, though it has a slight delay while the pipes fill with water. 3. A pre-action system uses a 2-stage detection process, offering a balance of speed and caution against accidental discharge. Water is released into the pipes only after an initial fire detection event occurs, like smoke detectors activating. However, the water only discharges from the sprinkler heads if a second trigger, usually the heat activation of the sprinkler head itself, is met. This allows time for verification and manual intervention to prevent false alarms, making it suitable for areas with highly sensitive equipment like data centers or museums where accidental water damage would be catastrophic. Some pre-action systems require 2 detection signals before releasing water. 4. Finally, a deluge system is designed for high-hazard areas. All the sprinkler heads attached to the system are open all the time. When the detection system, separate from the heads, triggers, a deluge valve opens and water flows through all the pipes and discharges from all heads simultaneously, flooding the entire protected area. This delivers massive amounts of water immediately and is used in places like aircraft hangars or chemical storage areas where very rapid fire spread is expected and overwhelming suppression is needed instantly. False activation is obviously a major concern here.
What about gas-based suppression systems? Are they still used, especially given the environmental concerns around things like halon?
Yes, gas discharge systems are still widely used, especially in areas where water damage is unacceptable, like data centers, archives, or electrical switchgear rooms. They use compressed gases to extinguish fires, primarily by reducing the oxygen concentration below the level required for combustion or by chemically interfering with the fire's chain reaction.
Okay.
CO2, carbon dioxide, is very effective and relatively inexpensive, but it's extremely dangerous to personnel. Concentrations high enough to suppress fire, typically above 34%, but dangerous above 7.5%, will cause rapid asphyxiation. So, CO2 systems are generally suitable only for unoccupied spaces or those with strict pre-discharge alarms and evacuation protocols.
Right. Not great if people are around.
Definitely not. Halon, specifically Halon 1301, was highly effective and considered safe for occupied spaces at suppressing concentrations, but it was found to be extremely damaging to the Earth's ozone layer. Its production and import were banned globally in 1994 under the Montreal Protocol, an important international environmental agreement. Existing halon systems can sometimes remain, but new installations are prohibited and sourcing the gas is difficult and expensive.
So what replaced halon?
Now, we primarily use EPA-approved halon substitutes and clean agents. These include agents like FM200, HFC 227EA, Novec 1230, FK5112, or inert gas mixtures like Energen or Argonite. These are designed to be safe for occupied spaces at their design concentrations, effective at suppressing Class A, B, and C fires, leave no residue, are electrically non-conductive, and have much lower or zero ozone depletion potential and significantly lower global warming potential compared to halon. Some newer systems also use very fine high-pressure water mist technology, which uses much less water than traditional sprinklers and works by cooling the fire and displacing oxygen locally, reducing collateral damage while still being effective and environmentally friendly.
So after all this fire protection, what about the damage from the suppression itself? It seems like fighting fire with water or even gas could ironically create another disaster for the electronics in the facility.
That's a critical consideration, and yes, it's often overlooked in the immediate aftermath planning. You can successfully prevent fire damage, but your suppression medium, whether it's gallons of water from sprinklers, the residue from dry chemicals, or even the force and potential thermal shock of a gas discharge, can cause significant collateral damage to equipment, documents, and the building structure itself.
Right. Yeah.
Water can short-circuit electronics, corrode components, ruin paper records, and lead to mold growth. Even clean agents, while leaving no residue, are released under pressure, which can potentially damage delicate hardware or dislodge items. This underscores the profound importance of having a robust incident response plan, or IRP, a comprehensive business continuity plan, or BCP, and a detailed disaster recovery plan, or DRP, that explicitly account for post-suppression cleanup, damage assessment, salvage, data recovery, and restoration of operations. You don't want to prevent a fire only to destroy your assets with the fire hoses or suppression agents, or find yourself unable to recover operations due to widespread water damage. These plans dictate how you'll clean up, recover critical functions, and eventually restore services after any incident, including the aftermath of a successful fire suppression.
Okay, let's zoom out again, right to the very edge of the property. How do we secure the perimeter, the outermost layer of defense for a building or a whole campus?
Perimeter security controls are indeed the first line of defense for a facility or campus. They're designed to detect, deter, and delay unauthorized access before an intruder even reaches the building itself. This involves various mechanisms like fences, gates, turnstiles, and even person traps, all strategically deployed to control entry and exit points and make unauthorized access difficult or obvious.
What are the different levels of security for fences? Is a taller fence always better?
Yeah.
And how do you integrate technology into them to make them smarter?
Fences definitely differentiate security levels based on their height and construction. A 3-4 foot fence might deter only casual trespassers. It's largely symbolic. A 6-7 foot fence is harder to climb and deters most opportunistic intruders, requiring more effort and tools to breach. An 8-foot or taller fence, often topped with barbed wire or razor wire, concertina wire, is designed to deter even more determined intruders, and is considered a significant physical barrier, often requiring specialized climbing aids or cutting tools to defeat. But just having a fence isn't always enough. An advanced approach is the Perimeter Intrusion Detection and Assessment System, or PIDAS. This integrates the physical fencing with sensors like fiber optic cables woven into the fence fabric that detect cutting or climbing vibrations, or microwave or infrared beams running parallel to the fence, or even ground sensors that detect pressure. These systems are often linked to cameras for assessment. PIDAS aims to optimize security by detecting actual intrusion attempts while using algorithms or multiple sensor types to reduce false alarms from common nuisances like animals, wind, or falling foliage. This allows for a more intelligent and reliable perimeter defense that security can trust.
And how do gates and turnstiles contribute to perimeter control? They seem like obvious weak points if not done right.
They can be weak points, which is why they need specific attention. Gates provide controlled entry and exit points for vehicles and pedestrians. They must be hardened against tampering, potentially reinforced to resist ramming attacks, especially vehicle gates, and ideally monitored continuously by guards or CCTV, often integrated with access control systems, card readers, intercoms.
Right.
Turnstiles, like you might see illustrated in Figure 10.5 of the study guide, are a form of gate specifically designed to prevent more than one person from entering per valid authentication. They restrict movement to a single person at a time, usually rotating just enough for one person to pass through after presenting credentials. They ensure strict personnel flow control and make tailgating through a primary pedestrian entrance much, much harder. You often see them at stadiums or subway entrances, but also high-security building lobbies.
And person traps. I've heard them called man traps, too. It sounds pretty intense. How do they work?
Person traps, or man traps as they're commonly known, are indeed highly effective and typically used for very high security areas. They consist of a small chamber or vestibule with two interlocking doors. An individual enters the first door, which then locks behind them. They are momentarily immobilized in this small interstitial space.
Trapped.
Essentially, yes, until their identity and authorization are thoroughly verified, perhaps by a guard observing through bullet-resistant glass, or via an automated biometric system like fingerprint or iris scan, maybe combined with weight sensors inside the trap. Only after successful verification does the second, inner door unlock, allowing passage into the secure area. If verification fails, the inner door remains locked, and often the outer door will only unlock once the person moves back out. This system makes piggybacking or tailgating physically impossible.
Wow, okay. And bollards, what's their role?
Bollards are those sturdy, short posts you see, often made of reinforced concrete or steel, strategically placed outside building entrances, along sidewalks, or around critical infrastructure. Their primary purpose is to prevent ramming attacks from vehicles, either accidental or deliberate. They act as a hard physical stop. K-rails, which are large, heavy concrete barriers often used temporarily for road construction, serve a similar purpose for vehicle control and redirection, sometimes used more permanently around facilities.
Lighting seems so simple, basic even. But how important is it really for deterring intruders? Does it actually make a big difference?
Lighting is a primary and often underestimated deterrent. It acts as a powerful psychological barrier as much as a practical aid. Its purpose is threefold. First, to discourage casual intruders and trespassers simply by making them feel exposed and visible.
Okay.
Second, to make any misdeeds clearly visible to security personnel, patrols, and surveillance cameras. And third, to generally aid surveillance and patrol efforts by improving visibility for guards and reducing hiding spots.
Where should it be placed, and how bright does it need to be?
Lighting should be strategically placed in parking areas, along walkways, around building perimeters, and especially illuminating entrances and exits. Ideally, it should be on from dusk till dawn, or perhaps motion-triggered in specific zones where full-time illumination isn't necessary or cost-effective, though consistency is often better for critical areas. Illumination levels are typically measured in foot candles or lux. You might aim for at least 2-foot candles for general perimeter areas, and maybe 5 to 20-foot candles for critical areas like entry points or loading docks. Consistency is key. Avoiding deep shadows or overly bright spots that create glare is important. Glare from poorly aimed lights should be directed away from observation points like guard shacks or camera locations to avoid blinding security personnel or washing out camera images.
What's the role of human security guards and even guard dogs in physical security today? Are they still effective in our modern tech-driven age? Or are drones and cameras making them obsolete?
That's a great question. Despite all the incredible advancements in technology, human security guards still provide an invaluable function that automation currently cannot fully replicate. They offer static deterrence simply by their visible presence, making potential intruders think twice.
Right, the human element.
Exactly. And they provide active detection and surveillance. Unlike automated systems, guards can adapt, react intelligently, and make complex judgment calls in dynamic, unpredictable situations. They can perform both internal and external patrols, ideally at random intervals to prevent intruders from observing predictable patterns. They can also perform complex tasks like identity verification, respond physically to emergencies, de-escalate situations, and interact with employees and the public in ways technology can't.
But they have downsides too, right?
They do. They aren't a perfect solution. Disadvantages include the significant ongoing cost of deployment and maintenance salaries, training, benefits, equipment, and importantly, human factors. Guards can be susceptible to physical injury, illness, fatigue, distraction, complacency, or even potential compromise through bribery, coercion, or clever social engineering. These human elements require rigorous background checks, continuous training, strong supervision, and robust operational procedures to mitigate.
So human limitations are a factor. What about guard dogs? Are they still used?
Guard dogs are sometimes used as an alternative or supplement, often deployed for perimeter security or patrolling large, isolated areas, particularly at night. They offer excellent detection capabilities through their superior senses of smell and hearing, and they provide a strong psychological deterrence. Many people are naturally wary of large, alert dogs.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with one.
Right. However, they require very high levels of maintenance, ongoing training, specialized care, and careful handling. They also come with significant liability risks if they were to injure an innocent party or even an intruder under certain circumstances. On the technological front, we are seeing the emergence of robot sentries, ground-based autonomous robots and uncrewed aerial vehicles, or UAVs drones, which are automated patrols designed to identify intruders using cameras, thermal imaging, facial recognition, and other sensors.
The future is here.
Sort of. While they offer automated surveillance, can cover large areas tirelessly, and operate in environments potentially hazardous to humans, they still generally lack the adaptive judgment, nuanced decision-making, and physical intervention capabilities of a human guard. They often still require human oversight and intervention for complex scenarios. So a security guard is like having a human firewall, adaptable and can respond to novel threats, but also has human limitations. A robot sentry is more like an automated surveillance drone, excellent for routine patrols and detection, but usually needing human backup for response and complex assessment.
Okay, once someone is legitimately inside the perimeter, how do we manage who goes where? It's easy to focus on the outside walls, but what about controlling movement within the building?
That's where internal security controls come into play. It's about managing access to specific restricted areas within the facility and controlling visitor movements effectively. Visitor management is crucial.
How does it typically work?
Well, visitors should ideally be positively identified, logged in, and typically escorted by an authorized employee at all times while inside secure areas beyond the public lobby. Buzz-in systems can be used for controlled entry to reception areas, allowing staff to visually identify someone before granting access. Security guards in the lobby should monitor and verify unknown visitors, potentially checking IDs against appointments, and should be trained on procedures for handling suspicious individuals, which might include delaying them and contacting internal security or even calling the police if necessary.
And logging is important here too.
Absolutely essential. Visitor logs, recording name, company, purpose of visit, person visited, time in, time out, badge number issued, and corresponding employee logs, tracking movement into restricted areas via access card swipes, are vital for tracking physical access events. They provide a detailed audit trail: who was where, when they entered, when they exited. These logs, especially when integrated with smart card proximity device data from EAC systems and correlated with CCTV footage, are critical for verification, incident investigation, and ensuring accountability for everyone within the facility.
Circling back to people one last time, how do we ensure human safety in the event of a major incident or disaster, whether it's natural like an earthquake or man-made like a fire or active threat?
Protecting human life and safety is, without any doubt, the single most important goal of any security program, period. This involves comprehensive planning for the potential impact of both natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, severe storms, and man-made incidents, fires, explosions, active shooters, hazardous material spills, bomb threats. A key component here, distinct from BCP-DRP, is the Occupant Emergency Plan, or OEP. These plans are specifically designed and documented to guide organizations on how to minimize threats to life, prevent injury, manage duress situations like evacuations under pressure, and provide physical security for people during an emergency.
So OEP is about people. BCP-DRP is about business IT systems.
Exactly. It's important to note that OEPs generally do not address IT issues like system outages, data backup, or technical recovery. Those are covered by the Business Continuity Plan, BCP, and the Disaster Recovery Plan, DRP. OEPs focus solely on the people, their safety, organized evacuation procedures using predefined routes and assembly points, shelter-in-place protocols, basic first aid, accounting for personnel after evacuation, and communication during the crisis.
Right.
All organizations must also comply with relevant industry, legal, and safety regulations based on their location, such as local fire codes, OSHA requirements, and building safety standards, ensuring that these OEPs meet established minimum standards and, crucially, are regularly practiced through drill so people know what to do instinctively when seconds count.
This has been incredibly detailed, covering so much ground. How do we actually measure if all these physical security measures, the fences, the cameras, the guards, the policies are actually working? How do we know if our investment is paying off in real security improvements?
That's where key performance indicators, or KPIs, KPI of physical security, come in. KPIs are specific, measurable metrics used to objectively gauge the effectiveness of your security efforts over time. They are designed to be determined, monitored, recorded consistently, and evaluated regularly to provide actionable insights into how well your security program is performing.
What are some examples of physical security KPIs?
Common examples of KPIs for physical security might include the number of successful and, just as importantly, unsuccessful intrusions, crimes, or security disruptions detected or reported, the average time it takes to detect, assess, and respond to security incidents, like a door alarm or a perimeter breach, the time it takes to recover from incidents and restore normal security conditions, the measured level of organizational impact resulting from physical security incidents, for example, financial loss due to theft, operational downtime caused by damage, reputational harm. And critically, the number or rate of false positives generated by detection alerts or alarms. A high false positive rate can indicate an oversensitive or poorly configured system and leads to alarm fatigue, reducing the effectiveness of real alerts.
So, like measuring your fitness progress, you don't just guess if you're getting stronger. You track specific metrics like weight lifted, reps completed, and recovery time. KPIs do the same for security, showing if things are improving.
Exactly, that's a perfect analogy. These KPIs are crucial. They should ideally be collected automatically whenever possible through integrated systems like EAC logs, alarm system reports, CCTV analytics to ensure data reliability and consistency. They directly inform your ongoing risk assessment by highlighting actual vulnerabilities and attack vectors that are being exploited or attempted. They help identify specific areas for improvement in your security posture. Maybe you need better lighting in one area or faster guard response times. And importantly, they allow you to start calculating your return on security investment, or ROSI, by correlating security spending with reductions in incidents or losses. Ultimately, KPIs help demonstrate that your physical security efforts are truly effective, are contributing to the organization's overall objectives, and justify continued investment in these critical controls. They move security from being just a cost center to a measurable value protector.
So what does this all mean for us? Taking this deep dive has really hammered home that physical security isn't just about, fences and locks anymore, if it ever was. It's a complex, multi-layered discipline that's deeply integrated with overall cybersecurity, operational resilience, and even human behavior and psychology. It's far more strategic and interconnected than it might first appear.
Absolutely. To recap the key takeaways, physical security is utterly foundational. No amount of digital protection can truly compensate for a lack of robust physical controls at the base layer.
Right.
It all starts with a well-thought-out, documented plan, like a secure facility plan based on critical path analysis to understand your vital dependencies, and implemented using a layered defense model to create multiple obstacles for any potential intruders. Design principles like CPTID, crime prevention through environmental design, actively shape behavior and deter threats within the environment itself, making security inherent to the space. Effective physical security relies on a systematic approach to incident handling. Deter, deny, detect, delay, determine, decide, ensuring a rapid, logical, and effective response when incidents do occur. From securing easily overlooked areas like wiring closets, to designing highly resilient data centers, managing access with sophisticated tools like smart cards, and integrating various intrusion detection systems, every physical element of an organization needs careful, risk-based consideration.
Okay.
We also saw how environmental factors like ensuring consistent power, managing temperature and humidity precisely, and robust fire prevention, detection, and suppression are just as critical as protecting against external threats, and frankly, are often the cause of more frequent system failures or data loss if not managed properly. And finally, measuring performance isn't optional. Using key performance indicators, KPIs, is essential to ensure our physical security efforts are truly effective, allowing for continuous improvement and demonstrating a positive return on security investment, ROSI.
It's just fascinating how much detailed thought goes into literally every aspect of a building's security. From the landscaping outside to the airflow inside the server racks, it really proves that cybersecurity isn't just about what happens on a screen. This has been a truly enlightening deep dive. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thinking about all this, it raises an important question as we look forward. How might the rapid advancements we're seeing in artificial intelligence and automation continue to transform physical security in the next decade? Will AI-powered surveillance, predictive analytics, and autonomous robots eventually make human guards entirely obsolete? Or perhaps will their roles evolve into something new, maybe even more specialized, working alongside these intelligence systems to create an even more formidable blended defense? That's something for you, the listener, to ponder.
What a thought to leave us with, the future of physical security. Thank you again for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning.